All right, it looks like we are live, so we'll wait a little bit for some people to join in and then start taking some questions and whatnot and just chit chat.
I love that. Greg, how you been, man? Things good?
I am good. I'm locked in my house, so it's
That
been
makes
it's been
you.
an adjustment.
Yes.
So for people that don't know, I run the QC Rock Academy. It's a music school in Davenport, Iowa, and we've went to all video lessons right now. So I've had to set up a whole drum kit in the basement and recording system and figure out how we're going to do this whole thing. So it's
And
it's, it's
it
been an
looks
interesting couple of weeks.
it looks like you have figured it out. And you said this is going to be your second one. You did one with Kent.
Yeah, so I had this idea. I'm like, we've met a lot of you guys that have come and done stuff with the school in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, let's reach out and see who wants to do like a Q&A and people can just chat in their questions.
Gotcha.
So on Tuesday, I reached out to Kent Slusher from
Mm-hmm.
Luke Bryan's band, and he was my guinea pig.
Yes.
And we did this, and it went really, really well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to some other guys, see if this works. So you were the next on my list.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, man. And hopefully we'll have a nice, successful day and we'll get some questions. And how long do these usually run?
We can go as long as you want, really. But, I was thinking an hour, hour and a half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Depending on how many questions we get.
Right.
So, for people that are joining us on the Facebook page, down below, you can chat in questions, and we'll try to get to as many as you can, and get to know what Troy's been up to.
Yeah, and if you want me to elaborate on some of that, we can. While we're waiting for questions, basically, I got home after this last run that we did on the road, and I came home. I was home 2 days, and then the Nashville tornado thing happened, and
okay,
that was really unfortunate. So that was a shakeup here in Nashville, and it's only been not even a couple of weeks later, and we've had this coronavirus hit. So it's changed a lot of things, man. I think it's really humbling,
yeah,
when you look at just how fast the system just is like collapsing, how fast it could collapse,
Yeah.
I mean, our economy and just everything that rides on everything, shutting the whole system down is just so amazing to me, to see all of us be in the same boat together, but
yeah, because you guys had just started a headlining tour, didn't you?
we did, and we did cancel this. We would be out leaving next week, and actually at the end of this week, and we were out for the month of April, which has been canceled as well.
Yeah, I know you're planning to do the Alice Cooper tour.
If
So
I don't have that. I don't know if it's still on. I mean, there's talk about, we're slated to go the end of May through June. Now it was 20 shows, summer tour with Lita Ford opening, and we're really excited about all that. I don't know where it sits at this point. I don't know if it's. I know there's been talk about pushing it back if there's a problem, and I mean, how far back do we go before? We just don't know what's going on at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot of unknown going on right now.
Yeah.
So, and it seems to be changing almost by the hour or the day.
Yes, I decided today, I thought, I try to catch some of the briefings, check out the local news, see what's happening. And, I thought, well, this morning I just kind of took a break from it all,
Yeah. It makes you feel better.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. Yeah. So far it's been a great morning. And, I mean, I have acceptance around everything that's going on, reach out to the kids, grandchildren, the stuff that's truly important, my son, who's been very proactive in his home studio, he's just quarantined himself with a buddy of his, and Troy Luccketta Jr. on Facebook, and he's doing a lot of good stuff. So I've been trying to catch up with him and see what he's up to. We talked about there's this new thing called Zoom. I guess it's been out for a while. It's new.
Yeah.
I don't. How long's it been out?
I'm not sure, but that's what we're using for all of our online lessons.
Okay. So anyway,
I'm just learning it myself. So
yeah, I hadn't had a chance, but I'm going to get a chance to hook up with my grandson through that, which is exciting. So, I mean, yeah, it's a different world. It's a different place, a different time for all of us. And it is nice to see a lot of us pulling. I mean, everybody's just, we're all in it together and we're really pulling strong,
yeah.
It's, like I said, real humbling.
So tell us what you're in your band room and your music room at your house. Is that where we're at right now?
We are. I've got, well, let me see here. I'll turn this around a little bit. I have a little recording setup here. If you can see it.
Yep.
I've got a Midas 32. I've got a Pro Tools screen. I run Pro Tools in here. I got a keyboard over there, and another little workstation over there. Behind me in this corner, I got a little practice drum kit, which is basically set up for like percussion stuff.
Yes.
Let me see. I see you can kind of check it out.
Oh, you almost got like a stage built there, huh?
Well, this room was set up like pretty much like a theater, and I put this extra wall in, and behind me I actually have my new theater, a smaller theater, because the room was huge when I bought this place. But I got a practice pad right here, so I can practice. Right?
Yeah.
I've also got a cajon. This is my Toka percussion cajon, which is really cool. I've got a little DW auxiliary pedal hooked up to it, so I can play. Got a little tambourine, a little X tambourine if I want. Right? So I can use my snare drum, and I just do all kinds of fun stuff back here. I've got shakers. Let me see. Let me grab a shaker. Like, right? So I've got, or I can just do some hand stuff here. Right? So I've got a little ride cymbal right here. I don't know if you can see that over there.
Yep, we got it.
So anyway, I just sit back here and tweak. I got a metronome. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Right? Got to keep some time, and gives me a chance to do some extra recording on my percussion stuff I do back there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm set up to work, play, and experiment.
Yeah, and you have a lot of time to do it right now. So
well, I got a little more time than I had for sure, and it's been exciting. Actually, I'm wearing a Boxcar Junkie shirt. I came home and did the record release party downtown over at John Rich's place, which was really cool. And the following day, that was the first week I had gotten home after the tornado and right before this Corona thing hit. And then I had a chance to do something really cool, which was really exciting. There's a buddy of mine named B. James Lowry, and he works here in Nashville. He's a session guy. He's done 25 records of everything great that's come out of here. And he was over, they were doing a musician spotlight, I think it was. And it's over at the Country Music Hall of Fame, and they do it on Sundays at 1 o'clock. So he had an hour. So I joined him and Francelle, who was this gal that he works with, a singer. She's super talented. And I actually had my cajon on that, and I played some percussion and kind of assisted him in going over some of the big tracks like Song of the Year for Faith Hill. And then he had a Leanne Womack, excuse me.
There you go.
We did. Thank you. I had to get that out there. And then I think we did something for Kenny Chesney track. And it was really fun, just to spend the day over there playing a little music and kind of getting in that world. I don't do a whole lot of records here. I've probably done a couple dozen records here, which is a lot of B records, I've done some home recording stuff for people. So, you know, I just kind of, between Tesla and having a home studio, that brings some extra work in. I used to do a lot of teaching back in the day, which I'm thinking about doing a lot more of that now.
Yeah, doing the online thing's the way to go.
Yeah, you know, it's something I need to definitely expose myself a bit more to. I'm working on the social media thing. It's not something I've done a great job with in the past because it's just taken me time to kind of get comfortable with it and find myself through it. And God bless Rich Redmond. Many years ago, we had shared a room. We went to PASIC in Austin, Texas, and I didn't have a Facebook, and I didn't have a website or anything at the time. And he says, you know, Troy, you're doing all this cool stuff and nobody knows about it. And I said, yeah, it's just the way I like it. Because I wasn't a guy to really get out there and put myself out there. And but Rich has been a great mentor to me, and I've been able to spend, you know, a lot of great quality time with him over the years and be part of his drummers camps and such. So, you know, I've kind of found a place now, and I'm trying to be much more proactive with it. The companies want us to obviously do it as well. This is a great opportunity in of itself. So it's just one more thing we get to share on the social networks, you know, and it keeps people updated. And we have a new Tesla record that came out, and I didn't even post it yesterday. I think it was the 27th yesterday, right?
Yeah. Today's the 27th.
Today's the 20, what?
Today's the 27th.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's out today. Forgive me.
And that's the acoustic jam, right?
You know, yeah, maybe I'll post that later. Yes, we have the 5-man London Jam, and it's a celebration of 30 years of Tesla music. We revisited the 5-man acoustical jam for maybe about half a dozen songs, and we played a lot of new stuff and some B tracks that we hadn't played before. We did a day rehearsal. We were headed into play the Download Festival in England, and we had a day off coming in, so we popped over to Abbey Road, and
as you do, you just pop into Abbey Road, you know.
I mean, I know that sounds. I didn't mean it to sound that way. We just. Anyway, we were asked to through Universal if we would be interested in spending a day at Abbey Road and recording a live acoustic record in celebration of. So we said, yeah, we would. So we did like a day. We rented a room for a day, did some rehearsing. We went over there. They had a 5-camera shoot. It was all shot live. We ran through it, and we packed up and split. We didn't even listen to the playback. So it came out really good, though. I mean, I got the mixes, and I've seen some stuff on it, and it looks really great. So I'm really happy with it.
Very cool. So I want to tell a quick story about you I didn't even realize until I met you last summer when you came to the school. So and I told this story to the students that were at our thing at the school. But when I first started playing drums, my first lesson I ever went to, my teacher's like, "What kind of music do you like?" And this was in 1991. And I'm like, "Oh, you know, I like, you know, all the popular bands that were at the time, Poison and Warrant and all that." And I looked up, and there was a poster on the wall that had you and Pat Torpey and Stephen Sweet. It was like Zildjian Platinum was the poster on the wall. I'm like, those 3 guys. I like those 3 guys. And so I begged my teacher for that poster. And like 6 or 8 months later, he was redoing his lesson room a little bit. And he's like, "You know what, Greg? Here it is." So I'm going to see if I can screen share this, actually, because I have the poster. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that.
So you remember that poster, right?
I do remember that. And the funny thing was, I remember the day we shot that. It was initially, as I understand it, it was supposed to be me, Pat, and Lars. Okay. And Lars, for some reason, either pulled out or decided he didn't want to do it or something. And then Michael came in, and we all did it together, and it was all set up. It was in Los Angeles, and And it was really great because, I mean, looking back, especially with Pat, now the whole Mr. Big thing, and I was a huge Pat Torpey fan. I loved the way Pat played, and before, and I used to play with Eric
Yeah.
Martin Band, singer for Mr. Big, and I remember I was out. Tesla's first record wasn't even out, and they were doing demos. Mr. Big was doing demos. Oh, of course, I'm getting a phone call. I can't take that now. But Pat went to fill in for Robert Plantströmer. I forget what happened. He broke his arm in the shower, and so Eric and myself, Billy and Paul, we did maybe, I don't know, about 4 or 5 gigs locally around. It was Eric Martin and friends, and one of those gigs, I think Jeff, our singer, and Frank came out, our guitar player, and some theater or something in San Jose. But I had a lot of fun learning Pat's music. That's when I learned of Pat. I really didn't know a lot about Pat at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, this guy's awesome. I love the way he plays, and I loved his feel, and got to know him over the years. But so sad, we've lost so many people, and so much has happened over the years. And, I'm not getting any younger, I mean,
Yeah.
and I've had a great, great, awesome career, and I don't take none of that for granted. But I reflect on a lot of the people that we have lost, even when it comes to, family, young people, friends, whatever it might be. And now with this virus, it just, it makes us really think, we really have to be careful. We really have to do our part. I was supposed to leave Monday. I was going to pick up my daughter, Skylar, 17. She's in upper state New York, and I was going to bring her home this week. But I had to cancel it. We had flights booked, and I had a motorhome rented, and I was going to head up and pick her up, and everything shut down. I just said, well, I don't know when I'm going to get there. I says, I just got to kind of keep an eye on things. I says, but I want to do my part. I want to stay healthy. I want to be careful. I don't want to infect somebody. I don't want to get it, and all of those things, So not to write back on that. And it just has to do with the reflection of Pat and losing people and our health and such. Yeah. So, that was a great time, man. I remember that day very well. And we had a wonderful relationship. And I learned a lot from Pat Torpey.
Yeah. So, my instructor gave me that poster, and I put it up behind my drum kit in my house. I think my parents are watching right now. They might even remember. I had that poster over my head for probably 10 years.
Oh.
So you were always like watching over my shoulder.
I was your angel.
You were.
Yes, I was your drumming angel.
So it was so cool to me to actually be able to have you come to our school that day. And like kind of a full circle kind of, how in the world did this happen? And you're as great of a guy as you could ever imagine. Okay. So I really, really enjoyed that. And it didn't even occur to me until like that day when I was picking you up. I'm like, you know what? He looked over my shoulder for years. That's not right. Even knowing.
I did. I'm still looking over your shoulder. I still got your back. Okay.
I love it.
I'm right here for you, man. You can call me anytime.
All right.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Now, whatever happened to that poster, I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, it was on the back of, Modern Drummer. I remember they used it on the back. It was the back of the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there was some ads in some of the magazines with it as well. And actually, I have that same poster, which my mom has it, and she's got it in her space where she lives. So yeah,
once I moved out of my parents' house, who knows where that went. So,
well, I guess it was time to leave. New chapter, right? So
That's
tell
right.
me a little bit about more what's going on with the kids. I had such an amazing day when I got there, and you had some really young kids in there. I mean, what's the youngest student you have?
Well, in the past few months, we've actually added a new program called Kids Rock. So it's aimed towards kids 4 to 7 years old. So we put them into actual bands, and everything's kind of color coded.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave Simon, he ran a music school down in St. Louis, and he started this program. So shout out to Dave. It's been tremendously successful for us. But for private lessons, we start at 7.
Okay.
And like
Wow.
I think my oldest student right now is 65, and he just got started a few months ago. So
That's awesome,
we
man.
got everybody. But
That
yeah, everybody's
65.
making the adjustment now to doing the online lessons, and we miss everybody being around and seeing them face to face.
Is that
But
working out pretty good, the online thing?
overall,
Mm-hmm.
this was the first full week that I've done my online lessons. So there's a little learning curve, just like as we did our test call earlier, just to make sure our angles are right and you can hear everything. And but we're trying to do things to keep the kids engaged as much as possible and keep some sort of normalcy in their life, because they have no control of what's going on right now.
Right. Sure.
And they're used to going to school every day. They can't go to school. They can't see their friends. They can't go to their music lessons. So we're trying to do things like this. I'm like, all right, this will keep the kids thinking about music. If they hop on here and they watch us talk, and maybe it'll inspire them to go back to their room and practice an extra half hour today.
Right.
Who knows?
I mean, for some of us out there that don't, I've been spending a lot of time on a pad, and for some of the guys that don't have drum sets set up, or they can't play in an apartment or play in a house, I'm going to start probably putting a lot more out there with just some basic exercises, and just I like to reference a lot of the 101 stuff that I think there's so much advanced playing today and so many things happening. And for the younger generation, for the kids that are just starting and being at the academy and getting to see that firsthand, the one thing that I got exposed to were the note rates, which I thought was so important, because it's the basic building blocks, of everything that it is that we do. And, I'll spend a lot of time with students, and I had a guy start me over back in the day when I was studying, a guy named Rob Hart that I studied with, and that's what he did with me, and it did wonders for me. And I'd already recorded 10 years with Tesla,
Okay.
and I just kind of started over, and I just jumped back into my Ted Reed book and Louis Bellson, and just started working on my reading, which I'm not a big, huge, great reader, and I'm not schooled. I'm pretty much self-taught as a player. All my studying kind of came later in the years, in my late teens, in my early 20s, and I got really motivated and inspired and spent a lot of time on a practice pad. And I had a friend of mine named Steve Bellino that we had a workout with just sticking exercises that we got really comfortable with over time. And probably the exercise, we would just put on a metronome, and we wouldn't even talk. We got really connected, and we would do just like doing reps, we'd, do like 20 bars, one repetition of, a basic, right, left sticking into some doubles, into some flams, paradiddles, and such, moving everything around. And we would sit there on a pad, probably go for almost an hour before it we'd stop and then go, wow, that was great. Because we were really engaged at that point. But he taught me a lot, taught me my first double stroke roll. I mean, I was late coming into that,
Yeah.
but, always influenced by, as I am to this day, I'm still a student, still working. I mean, I was up there earlier today, just spending time on my pad. And that's what I'm finding, right now, just putting more time into my practice pad, thinking, I'm going to start putting more of this stuff out there. Just little vignettes, that people can grab real quick. And I put a couple out there just recently, and it's nice,
Yeah, I saw the paradiddle one. There's a paradiddle one you did the other day.
Yeah, I've never really done a lot of that over the years,
That's on your Instagram, right?
It is.
So if you're paying attention, you can go to Troy's Instagram page there if you're not following him already. And,
yes, please follow me. I need more followers.
little tidbits there every once in a while get put out. So
yeah, so I'm going to keep working on that and keep engaging myself and putting myself out there. You know, again, this is something that I've never been really super comfortable with doing, but I'm just, you know, just trying to keep up with what's going on out there with myself and be a little bit more transparent and open to it, so to speak.
Cool. Well, let's take our first question off the chat. So if you joined us and you don't know how this is working, in the chat below, chat in a question and we'll try to get to it and see what he says about it. So the first one is actually a good friend of mine, Leo. He plays guitar in my band. And can you tell us about playing with Ronnie Montrose and Mark Bonilla, studio or live?
Yes, I can. I got a lot of great stories when it comes to those two. Mark has forever, wow, that guy, he's really changed my life, being able to work with him. Mark and I have been friends for over 30 years now. Mark Bonilla has 2 solo records that actually I'm on the new one too that just came out, his 3rd one. It's me and Greg Bissonette and Joe Travers. We shared, I think I did about 5 tracks on the new record. But his first 2 albums, you know, those are like 30 years ago. And I met Mark, that guy I was just telling you about, Steve Bellino. Let me just share a little story. Steve Bellino, he was the guy that got me on my pad and he, you know, was helping me with my sticking and such. And I used to go out and see him play. Played in a cover band, and Mark was the guitar player. And they would do 4 sets, and I never was in any cover bands. I was always in original bands. So I hadn't played a lot of that music, you know. I mean, yeah, we'd play some covers, we do some basics and blah, 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 but I was always into being in an original band. So my buddy talks to me and he says, "Hey man, I need a sub. I can't make this gig." And I'm like, "Man, I can't go do that. I don't know all that music. I can't just go sit and go play 4 sets of songs that I've never sat and put any time into." And they were a lot of the music on the radio. But at that time, Power Station, he'd do like Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. And they were, you know, they'd pull off a lot of different stuff. And so, I mean, those things always made me nervous. And I was never comfortable to just say yes and jump in. Well, he talked me into it. And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." I said, "When's the gig?" He goes, "The gig?" He goes, I said, "When?" I said, "When's rehearsal?" And he goes, "Rehearsal?" He goes, "The gig's tomorrow night." And that was the start of a beautiful relationship, because I did the gig, I met Mark, and then he asked me to play on his solo record. And I heard some of his music from that solo record. And I was like, "Wow, man." I called him back. I said, "You need to go find a real drummer, man." I said, "I mean, there's some stuff on here that I'm just not sure about," because I hadn't played in a lot of odd times and such.
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, I just like the way you hit." And I said, "Well, okay, that'll get me so far, but let me check it out and let me see." So we got together and I spent 2 hours with him and we went over everything. And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I think I got this. I think this will be fun. Let's do it." So yeah, we did a few rehearsals. We did the first record. We recorded it live over 2 days, and it was probably, I mean, that record changed everything for me, because it started showing me the ability that I had and the potential I had in myself that I didn't know, because I was being challenged and playing in some, you know, different genres and different grooves and such. So over the last 30 years, I've been able to play. Ronnie Montrose and Mark were like best of friends all those years. Well, the tie to Ronnie Montrose and Tesla, Little Susie, before I was in the band, the song Little Susie, Tesla's song that we do, is a cover, a PhD. And on the original drummer on that is Simon Phillips.
Really?
And I had never heard Little Susie. I don't even know if I've heard that version. I think I heard it once. But Ronnie Montrose brought it to the band was called City Kid, all the same guys in the band, the original band. And he did the first demo. That's where that song came from. He loved Tesla. He loved Jeff Keith. He would have loved to have Jeff Keith. He even said that, he wasn't out there to steal Jeff, but he was working with them before I got in the band. And then I got in the band and we were doing some work together, and I got to know Ronnie over the years. And then fast forward, I was able to not produce, but engineer Gamma 4, which Ronnie had after Ronnie Montrose. There was 4 records. There's the first Montrose album. Then there's Paper Money, Sammy Hagar, the first 2. Then you got Warner Brothers Presents, which was that's the departure of Sammy Hagar and Bob. Oh my God, think of his name here, the singer. And then Jump On It was the 4th record, and then Gamma started up, the first Gamma record. And I was a huge fan of Gamma as well. So I got to know Ronnie over the years, and I got to engineer Gamma 4 because he had called me and asked me if I would be interested in doing it. And my first thought was no. And he said, why? And I said, well, Ronnie, I think I'd rather keep the friendship, I don't know how that would work out. And really, the truth of the matter is Ronnie used me and I used him, but I spent 5 weeks recording that record, and I engineered it, and Denny Carmassi played drums, and he was one of my heroes.
Okay.
So that was a great experience I had. And then, I know this is a little long-winded with Ronnie. I mean, that's a great question because I had such a relationship over 30 years with those guys, and still do with Mark. And it's so sad with Ronnie. But and then over the years, Mark was the MD for the Mark and Brian show. It was a Christmas show they would do. It was a live 4-hour show, 6 a.m. downbeat to 6 to 10. And the house band would back up all these different artists that would come in. And Mark Bissonette was doing it. He was a house drummer. Simon Phillips was. David Page was the music director when Mark wasn't doing it. And Steve Luccketta, Steve Porcaro, wonderful. Leland Sklar playing bass. Killer band. And so anyway, I did that. I think I did 4 of them. And I learned a lot from that as well. So, just so many great opportunities through Mark Bonilla. The Keith Emerson record I did Mark was the music director for that, and I got to go to Germany with Keith and record live with the 70-piece orchestra. The last recording Keith ever did, So that was another blessing. It was all through Mark. So, at any rate. Yeah, I could go on and on and on forever about Mark and what he's contributed to my wholeness as a drummer and as a person, and becoming of, because he tapped into things that I didn't know I could do and brought things out of me, and it helped build my confidence, and it was a great confidence builder.
Yeah.
And when you're the part of a house band, and when I remember the first time he asked me to do that, I'm like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." I'm like, "Okay," and then I'd freak out, like, "What am I doing?" But it was cool, I mean, you had Steve Porcaro, me, Ronnie was playing. Ronnie, because I backed up Ronnie separately in one show, Glenn Hughes separately in one show, David Coverdale doing the Whitesnake separately in one show, and there were many other artists that we would back up. But I remember Ronnie being a big Deep Purple fan, and I remember we did Burn with David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, and Ronnie was playing guitar, and I remember him running up, starting the riff, because we at soundcheck, we did it right at soundcheck, and we pulled it off that day because Glenn and David Coverdale were together, and on this song called Burn that we played, they hadn't been together in 23 years, I heard, on stage together. So it was a really cool moment for them. But I remember Ronnie just coming up and starting the track. And I remember he started it really fast. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that track, but there's a lot of fast drumming going on in it. Ian Pace, who I was a fan of as well. Okay. But I stopped Ronnie right in his tracks. I'm like, "Yo, stop." This is at the sound check. Thank God he didn't do it live. But I just stopped him in his track. I'm like, Ronnie. I go, "Dude, slow down, man." I go, start it again, but just put it where it needs to be, man. He was so excited, man. It was so cool to see him like a little kid, you know.
Yeah.
Because we all have we're fans of each other and everybody, and you know. But anyway, great question. A lot of history with those guys, and yeah, some game changer stuff in there for sure.
Cool. Well, we've had a couple questions about this. I know this is something that's very important to you, and that's actually how we ended up meeting. People are wanting to know more about your program, Troy Shows Up.
Troy Shows Up. Let me see. Well, let me see. For all of you that don't know, I probably have somewhere. Yeah, look at this. Let me see. There we go. Can we get that?
Got it. Yeah. There we go.
There we go. So this little dude here came from a friend of mine, Brady Ayers with Jostens. He works with the school. They make the graduating rings and such. He asked me one day, he said, "Hey, Troy," said, "I'd like you to speak at a high school for me," or a middle school it was. He was referring, I think at the time, maybe to a high school or middle school. And I said, "You want me to speak at a school for you?" I says, "What do you want me to talk about?" He says, "I want you to talk about drugs." And I'm like, okay. I said, you know, I've been sober for, at that time, 25 years, coming up on 27 years now. This was a year and a half ago. So I took on the Pepsi challenge, so to speak, you know, and basically he asked me to do 20 minutes of playing, 20 minutes of presentation, and 20 minutes of question answer with the kids. And basically, you know, it's basically me going out, sharing my experience, strength, and hope. And you know, it's not, I mean, it's probably another fear challenge moment in my life to work through, because as I started to think about it, when it was getting closer to the date, you know, I mean, I remembered just like, wow, what did I get myself into? You know,
Yeah.
because I'm going to go talk to like 700 kids.
Yeah. Like, and like, it's kind of like, for me, like, I can sit behind a drum kit and play for as many people as you want me to.
Right.
Put me out front with just a microphone.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely that moment where, you know, I learned something a long time ago, and it holds true to this day. Dom Famularo, who we all know and love, many years ago, I was actually it was at PASIC. I was playing PASIC, and it was very profound because it applies to what I'm getting ready to share about this Troy Shows Up thing. I did my clinic, and he came up to me after. He goes, "Man, Troy, I've been watching you," and he goes, "I got to tell you, man, your clinics, you're really doing a great job, you know." He goes, or a good job, maybe he said. He goes, "But it's going to be really great." He goes, "When you figure out it's not about you, that's when it's going to be great." And what he meant by that, and what I got out of that and took from that, which I got it, and I didn't get it till later. I was like, I was like, what's he talking about? And then I realized when I came out to do my clinic, I'm playing a piece of music, right?
Okay.
And I didn't do a lot of clinics, so I was nervous. And I remember plugging my headphones in, my hands were shaking. And I remember having a conversation with my hands, looking at my hands going, yo, what's up with you guys? You know, I'm here to have a good time. So let's just have a good time, chill out, right? And I remember plugging my headphone. I played the music, you know, and I had a nice piece of music that I had played. And it was about that and the playing. And halfway into the clinic, what happened was there was engagement with the kids. They started asking me questions, and that's when it became about them. It wasn't so much about what I was playing and how great I am, and because we're trying to measure up, so to speak, in this thing that I wasn't really comfortable in. So I took it like, you know, it's about the kids, man. Just keep it about the kids. Get yourself out of it and your worries and your thoughts. But I was never that comfortable with it. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah.
Am I making sense with this? But that's where I was at the time. So I remember with the Troy Shows Up thing, I kind of almost heard Dom's voice, and I knew it was about them. I knew it wasn't about me, and I didn't want to make it about me. But I had to share part of my story, and I had to figure out a way to connect with the kids. So the way I connected with the kids, knowing that they probably never heard of Tesla, I went out and I played some I had about 20, I had a, I don't know, maybe 12, 14-minute piece of music. I had an opening with Tesla so they could see who I was, a little video clip. And then I had this 12-minute piece of music that had Bruno Mars, Michael Jackson, La Bamba, and it just, went through, hit the first chorus, switch gears, and just stuff they could connect with, and they could get up, and it was all upbeat and have fun and dance and such. Yeah. So I documented it from that first presentation, which troyshowsup.com. That's what you'll see up there when you see the kids up there with me. So I did make it about the kids. I got them involved, and I, for me, man, I said a prayer right before I went out there to just, kind of be able to let go and trust. Yeah. And it worked out. And, for me, it's about having purpose, a purpose-driven life. It's not about me. I know that, and I get it. I've already lived a full life. I mean, how many more platinum records and gold records and such do I have to fill that void of who I want to be? Yeah. And that don't work. None of it works. I can tell you. We've played arenas, we've headlined tours, we've done so many amazing things. Now I'm at a place where I think I can be pretty grateful. I've always been grateful, but I mean, I'm pretty comfortable, I should say, in my own skin. The Keith Emerson thing did a lot for me. It made me realize, hey, you're not so bad. You've done all right. Because I never thought a lot about my playing, and I've always felt pretty. I've had a big hole inside of myself to fill with things over the years as a kid. Growing up and working through these situations. And the Troy Shows Up thing is, I'm a good example of a bad example. I didn't do well in school, so I can share those things. I can share the things about people pleasing and making bad choices and what not to do, and watch who you hang out with, watch what you say yes to. And so that is pretty much my program in a nutshell of what I'm doing. I've done 4 presentations since then, and a lot of the stuff that I have documented, I haven't even put up on my site yet. So you'll see more of that stuff coming out. But that's what troyshowsup.com is all about. It's about the kids, and it's about a message in a world that is not just about addiction, which was my case of getting sober, but for them, I mean, my daughter, God bless her, 17 years old, her little friend, she was hanging out with, and she's had some challenges, and that's why I'm going to be bringing her with me, which I'm very excited about. Yeah. But she, she had a little friend named Garrett, and Garrett, 15 years old, and he hung himself. It was so sad. It was the most, and I realized, I'm like, man, these kids, you hear so many of these stories and the stuff that's going on, and, the bullying and teenage suicide and stuff that we really couldn't relate to. I mean, right now we got this, everybody's trying to find themselves in this social media world. Look at these kids, man. It's an identity. They're, hey, can you do this? I need some likes,
Yeah.
It's like,
how many likes and comments can you get?
And, unfortunately, that's where this thing's at, and like I told Rich, it wasn't what I was interested in doing. I'm trying to, enjoy it, find a nice, happy place with it, share some good information, use it for a tool for the good of mankind, and, see where God's going to put me on this road. Even with the Troy Shows Up, I'm not out trying to pound schools and trying to get gigs. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just built this thing. The model's there. I'm working on the car. I've got a little free download I'm working on, so when I leave the school, the kids can have something and some tools. So it's something I'm committed to based on what I've seen and how effective it is being there with these kids. Well,
I know you had a big influence on our kids when you came, and they still talk about it.
Well, that's awesome.
So and you even took the time that night of your show when you played at the Mississippi Valley Fair, that when the show was done, you're like, hey, have the kids that are here at the show come back down. I want to talk to them afterwards. And those kids loved it.
That was a great time, man. And I remember that night very well, man.
And I know a few of the kids that were there that night are actually watching right now. There was little Nico. He was little boy that you
Yo,
kind of befriended.
Rico. Yes, I remember him. Great kid, man. Was he the youngest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of the youngest ones that night. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I saw that he was watching, and Colton and Luke, they were all at the show, and Izzy. So, yeah, they all still talk about how cool that night was and what a great time they had hanging out with you. So, and it was cool for me because you were awesome enough to take a Rock Academy shirt and went just like this.
Yes.
And you wore that on stage in front of, 15,000 people. So,
yes.
I was
going to wear my Rock Academy shirt today, but I figured you had yours on.
We didn't want to match.
Right.
That would have been embarrassing.
Plus, I want to, the Boxcar Junkies is something you should check out, boxcarjunkies.com. Something else I'm involved with. Brandon Reed Allen, another great singer-songwriter, great talent. He's got a crazy, amazing story, and I'm looking forward to get him out in the schools with me as well. It's a mission from God, man, and that's what it is, and that's the stuff I'm interested in. I love playing. I'm happy to play and work on many different things, but for me, I'm saying more to the more purpose-driven stuff that seems to make a difference, because you can't do everything, and I've learned that,
Yeah, so let's take a couple more questions. What's the craziest thing a kid has ever asked you while visiting their school? Any crazy questions?
I don't know if there's any really. Oh, well, not a crazy question. I had a crazy experience I could share.
Yeah, let's hear it. We all love crazy experiences as long as it doesn't happen to us, right?
These were high school kids. Yes, I won't mention the school. How about that?
Okay. There's been 4 of them.
Yeah, right. It's because they figured out real quick. So I'm doing this. I'm up there. I get done playing, and I'm doing my presentation, and I'm talking, and I notice there's a kid in the front row. Big kid sitting right front center, and he's just kind of like this.
The whole time.
Yeah, he's just sitting there, and I make eye contact with this kid, and I look at him, and it kind of, it's one of those moments, and I didn't really lose a beat, I just kept going and talking and sharing, but I kept looking at him, and it really didn't work much. I was like, well, yeah, you're the kid I want to talk to, it's really. You're the reason I'm here. I didn't say that, but I kept on. And after I got done, a lot of kids would come up and, ask me questions or want to take pictures. And I turn around, and this kid, he's bigger than I am. He's a big kid. And I turn around, and he's standing right by him, and he's got this big old smile on his face. And he's looking at me, goes, because that was really great. He goes, can I get my picture with you? And I didn't call him out or do anything, just so absolutely. And I grabbed him, we took some pictures, and but that was the first time anything crazy like that happened. That was a pretty challenging school that I was at, okay. And I'm learning from these experiences, being there firsthand and realizing, and you have to remember, there are a lot of challenged kids. Yeah. And when a room, I've learned to be careful on how I direct certain questions or ask certain questions if I ask them, because you can open the room up to where there's 600-700 kids. Once they get loud, it's hard to get them back down. Yeah, because they can be very disruptive. That was the only school that I really had those kind of challenges at. Everything else has been pretty smooth and pretty engaged, and but that's a good question. Cool. That was my crazy experience.
So you have the Troy shows up where you go to schools and whatnot, and I saw you got something. It's Troy shows up with friends, right?
It is,
and you've done stuff in Nashville where we have other people come out and play, and then you're doing something in, where is it? Costa Rica? Something like that?
So the guy that I did with Brady Ayers, there's another guy named Ryan Trowbridge. He called me and he says, "Hey Troy," he says, "how about you do Troy shows up?" Troy shows up. He didn't say we're friends. He said Troy shows up in Costa Rica. I'm like, Costa Rica? What am I going to do? What are you talking about? Hey man, I was just there and it's blah 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 blah, and it's great. And he had all these ideas and could do something at this hotel. And I'm like, I don't know. My wife and I went ahead and went out there and spent 5, 6 days, maybe 6 days, and we stayed in about 3 or 4 different locations because I started to think, I thought, well, maybe I could do a Troy Shows Up with Friends program. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be at the time. I just thought, because I did the firefighters benefit, which was Troy Shows Up with Friends, and Derek St. Holmes from Ted Nugent, the singer, and I had some other people come up and would play some music and be part of, right? So that was one. Troy Shows Up with Friends could be many things, but so that was the first engagement. This engagement we have Troy Shows Up with Friends.net, that's out there for Costa Rica, is now health and wellness. My wife and I, a song for wellness.org, ASONG, the number 4, wellness.org, based on pH and alkalinity and how a disease can't survive in an alkaline body. And I've learned a lot about that, and food matters. It's just that simple, man. And if you look at the state of our food and what's going on in the world, in our country, that it's just a lot of processed foods and junk foods and such. So that's all, unfortunately, over time of eating that way, we become more susceptible to cancer and disease and such. So that's where we were coming from. It's basically Come Change Your Life, 5 nights, 6 days, Costa Rica. I've got some speakers, some panelists, and that I'm bringing in. We're set up for October 6th through the 11th this year. It's $3,400 for 2 people, so it's $1,600 per person, double occupancy. There is a friend of mine, Wally Payton, Paton. He is a 12-step. I say he's a McCartney of the 12-step world in terms of he travels all around the world. He's probably seen more countries than I ever have. And I asked him to be one of our panelists because he's a cancer survivor as well, him and his wife, Britt. And so we want to share some basic one-on-one and information for people so they could come, spend 5 nights, 6 days. There's excursions packages involved with it as well. All inclusive. Everything's paid for except your flight. You show up, all the transfers from when we pick you up, from the time you get back to the airport is all taken care of. So you don't have any other expenses. And again, we will send you home with a renewing of the mind of information because it's about information. And that's what I've learned. So these are things that have been new to me over the last 7, 8 years. My sister's been in the wellness industry for 30 plus years, lost her first husband to cancer. My wife lost her sister to cancer. And that's what kind of started this whole thing because they didn't want to do the radiation, the chemo and such. And I'm not saying like, hey, there's a place for medicine and medical, of course, we all know that. But I'll tell you what, man, rebuilding your cells at the cellular level with nutrition, that's what it's all about. That's a game changer. That's a life changer. Something as simple as people don't even know that I've met that are sick and stage 4. I'll say, are you aware that that sugar is a #1 cancer feeder? Because I might see them with the soda or something, and I just bring it to their attention. I say, look it up. Don't trust me. Check it out. Do the research. But anyway, Song for Wellness with my wife and I, it's another part of our mission. Purpose-driven life. It's free information. We don't charge for anything as far as the website and the information that we have to share. And it's just one more thing that I've kind of learned about and fell into. And, you know, we don't bring anything processed into our home. We try to eat well. Do I do it perfectly? No, I don't. Remember, I'm the good example, the bad example. I'm still that guy that might go out and have a cheeseburger. I might have a piece of cake every now and then.
Yeah.
I don't do anything perfect, but I can tell you what used to be, I'm going to say 10% good and 90% bad. I've turned it all around. You know, 90% good, maybe 10%, maybe it's an 80-20, but whatever it is. But I do know this: if I can, there's information to share. I've seen a lot of people get well,
Yeah,
you know, through nutrition. So, anyway,
cool. All right, so let's get back to some music talking.
okay, let's do it.
So you guys, I don't know how many different tours you've done. You've went out with Def Leppard. So many times have been out with Def Leppard, and Phil Collin produced the last album, correct?
That is correct. A record called Shock.
Yeah. So let's talk about Phil's
okay, so
theories.
If you go
because your drum sound is definitely on that album, your drum sound is definitely more Def Leppard sounding than old school Tesla sounding.
Correct.
So,
and the record, as many people have listened to, you know, there's obviously some Leppard influences in terms of, because of Phil and the background vocals, and he sang and he played. He was like the fifth Beatle on this record. I'll give you the backstory how it all came together. But so we were out with Def Leppard in 2015, and it was with Styx and Leppard. We did 15 was us, Styx, Leppard. 16 was us, REO, Leppard. 17 was us, Poison, Leppard. So we did hundreds of shows together.
Yeah.
And we go back, we did the first 87, 88 Hysteria tour, 15 months, 16 months of touring, world tour on that with them. So we were at the same management. We hooked up many, many years ago, and all of us have been friends. And, you know, and then when the tour opened up and we were working, Phil was watching the band, realizing like, wow, I really love this band. You know, I really love you guys. I think you're a great band. However, I have some thoughts about what it is you're doing. First thought was, let's clean it up. You guys look like the road crew out there. Let's bring out some rock stars. Let's change some gear, you know, some clothes. And he really, you know, kind of, if you look at the band now, you'll notice when you see us live or see photos outside of, I should say, the new record that's out, because it's just a regular kind of photo walking in the building of Abbey Road. We're using that promo shot a lot, but you'll notice that the band looks good and it's reinvented, so to speak. So that part of it we worked on and got it together. Now, he had a song called Save That Goodness that he wrote, and he asked us to record it, and he wanted to produce it, and we did. And he's in the video. You can see it. Tesla Save That Goodness. You can look it up. It's on TeslaTheBand.com on a videos page. So while we were out there working, I don't know, somehow it got mentioned, him doing a full record. I'm not exactly sure how that had taken place, but we ended up on a conference call with him, and to have the conversation about him producing the next Studio Tesla record. So we got on the conference call, and he told us what he wanted to do, and we all agreed that he would produce the record, and we would really let him produce the record and make the record he wanted to make. And we would be really hands off, but be hands on. You know, yeah. Just be the band, be the vehicle, co-write, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, let's do it. Why not? You know, so we did. My part, because if you know about Def Leppard records, you know, even back before Rick lost his arm, they were Hysteria. I mean, Pyromania. I mean, those records are programmed.
Yeah.
You know, and very well done, as we all know. And so I didn't know, you know, like, okay, what's he going to want to do, you know? So they were already working on songs and doing some programmed drum machine stuff. And I thought, I just stayed away from the demos. I really didn't listen. I figured I'm just going to wait. And when it's time to go in with Phil, I'll get the tracks. And whatever I want to work on that day, I'll download the day before, take some notes, go in that morning fresh with him. Never sat down and played any of the songs until I would record them, to keep it fresh and to be open-minded enough to work with him and not have any preconceived ideas of what I thought I should do. So his first conversation with me was, Troy, he says, I just want to be able to air drum the record. And I said, got it, man. I get it. No fancy, just, whatever that might be. And I understood what he was saying. I said, cool, man. I said, so what songs are we going to do tomorrow? We'll do these three. So I downloaded them. I had them in my emails already. But so I went and I listened to him, did some quick cheat sheets. I went in that morning. I'd play for about an hour before he'd get there. And I'd get some ideas and listen. And we just take it song by song. And we were doing 3 songs a day. And, a couple, 3-4 days later, we had the record done. It was pretty painless. I enjoyed working with him. He had great ideas. He liked my ideas. It was real simple. It was easy, and I really enjoyed it. And by the time the record was finished and I heard the record finished, I think the only thought I had that I might have suggested, if it never got open for discussion, I mean, we did the record, it was mixed, it was done. Nobody had a conversation about it. So, but I think the conversation I would have had possibly is, I think the only thing I would have done is taken some of those Leppardish vocals and the harmonies and the backgrounds, because that's where it becomes more prevalent. I felt that I think I probably would have maybe tucked some of that back and maybe brought in Frank and Brian or Dave, any personality vocal that would support Jeff that much higher, and maybe just pull him back just to stay away, because I knew it would be controversial anyway, which it was.
Yeah.
For some people, some of the Tesla haters came out.
Ah.
I mean, they were actually Tesla fans, but they were not sure about some of the record, but there was only a handful of them. It's funny how we can focus on those handful. I mean, talking under a dozen, maybe, people. Classic Rock Magazine gave us like one of our best records ever. And there were a lot of great reviews about the record. But, I mean, it was a different record for, I think, the band. And I was okay with it,
Yeah. Well, I saw you guys last summer and you played a couple of songs from that, and they sound great live.
Yeah, exactly.
They're big. That it has a big full sound. It's
sound like Tesla.
Yeah, it's an arena rock sound. So I dig it. So but yeah, one thing I noticed, like the last time I saw you guys, and I was with our guitar instructor Billy, was at the show with me, how gutsy it is for Tesla, because no other bands do this, where you start the show with like a dual guitar, like ripping leads, like Jeff doesn't even come out yet.
Yeah, that's a song called First Album Coming At You Live, right?
Well, yeah, it starts off with all that, like that's just a gutsy move for because everybody else wants to come out like, all right, we're gonna do this big song that's all singing, but you got 2 shredding guitar players in that band, and they come out and just light it up for the first couple minutes of the show. Like,
we used to open with that song a lot, and over the years, things have changed, and we brought it back. And when it comes to the set list, Frank, our guitar player, he pretty much puts the set list together, and I don't really have an opinion on any of that. I told him, I go, Frank, whatever you want to play, I'm cool. Don't matter to me.
Yeah.
And he used to do our artwork and our T-shirts and stuff and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, everything you do is great. I mean, Brian and Frank managed the band at one time, and they did a great job. I mean, and that was a lot, man. And I look back, especially with Brian, because really it was Brian managing the band. And my God, my hat's off to him. I mean, there's so much that goes in to taking that position, to manage a band and keep it together, all the work, and I mean, the emails, and I mean, looking back, I probably didn't see it as much then as I see it now. Just, how much I appreciate what he did, at a time of need, and jump in. And him and Frank just kind of took over, and we were just out there on our own before we got with our new management company, who's doing a great job.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see all these phases we've went through. I mean, we've been together for 35 years, and you see all these different roles everybody plays, and I think for me, I've just kind of pulled out and just trust their judgment and kind of let them roll and just kind of go with them, and like, hey man, I don't really have if I have a real strong opinion on something, I'll weigh in, but the stuff that really doesn't matter, the set list, like, hey man, whatever you want to do. And every now and then he might ask me what I think, and I might tell him, he might do. I so something just the opposite, right? I'm like, well, of course, yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's all good, man. I don't claim to know too much about what it is I'm doing out here with this band. I'm rolling with it, trying to do my part, bring extra positive energy. It's a very challenging situation sometimes, as much as we tour, to be out. I mean, you're talking 35 years in a bus,
Yeah.
It's not easy keeping all of us together in a group, to share that space and not have, some anxieties or conflicts or such.
Yeah.
But we really don't, for the most part. We've kind of figured it out. It's not a perfect world, but it's pretty damn good, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the way I explain it to a lot of our students, when you're in a band, it's like being in a relationship, which is hard enough between two people to keep together and happy. You're in it with 4 or 5 other people.
yes, it's
and then when you're on a bus, you're stuck together all the time. And there's going to be disagreements. And it, like with the band that I play with, we've been together now for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Actually 21 this summer.
Oh,
and it's been the same 4 people for 20 years. And it's at this point, we have our little riffs back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, we've all grown older. We've went through all of our life experiences of marriages and kids, and we're a family now, and we're not going to split this thing up over something petty anymore.
Right. Well, we tried that. I like Brian, our bass player, says we tried breaking up. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Here we are, and
at this point, like, we've done it for so long, it's like, what's the point of quitting?
Right.
Yeah. We still enjoy each other. We actually, it was funny. Like right before this, the coronavirus thing hit, it was the first week of the year. We actually went over and played some shows in Taiwan. And then like the week after we got back, they're like, oh, there's this new virus. And we flew through Hong Kong on the way there and back. But, it's the 4 of us to do it. We're pretty much just like a regional band. But to go on the other side of the world and do the same thing, like there's no other people I'd ever want to do that with.
Right.
Than this group of people that I've played with for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an amazing experience, especially when, you guys played foreign countries like that before,
sure,
where they don't understand a word you're saying.
No, they don't.
But they're still digging it. It's like,
the funny thing is, it's funny how, I mean, they will be singing your songs louder than we sing them at times. The audience is so amazing. And it is a trip, when we go into these different countries, and just the appreciation they have for the music, and it is great to see. And the fact that you've got to experience some of that, that's awesome. And that you've been able to keep a band together for 21 years. I mean,
we'd like to say we're too dumb to quit.
Well, I think, I've always said, because I've worked with some different, and I play in some different bands as well. And it's like, I've always said, well, even if it's not perfect, I think I'd rather do it than not do it. I mean, it's just one more thing we can have to do. Maybe we play twice a year, maybe whatever, with Tesla, obviously very different, being my bread and butter, my priority. But, I mean, for us, we're going to go as far as we can with this thing. There's no plans on slowing down.
Yeah. Well, let's take another question off the thing here. This one's from Izzy. She's one of our students. You met her at this school that day.
Okay.
She wants to know, what's one album that's not a Tesla album that front to back?
Front to back. Well, if I had to pick one record, probably the first Montrose record for sure. That would be one. Oh, that's all she wanted was one. We'll stick with that.
Yeah. There you go, Izzy. All right. Another question. We'll double this one because it goes back to talking about the last album. What's a song off the new album that you enjoy playing the most? And another question, would you record another album with Phil Collin?
Song I enjoy playing the most. New album. Well, we haven't had a chance to play a lot of the new album. We might do, I think we've done maybe we've probably done maybe 5, 6 of them. Shoot.
It's a trick question.
Well, you know what it is I can't even remember the title names of the songs right now. I'm trying to think like I better grab a record and see what songs are on there. You know, it's not so much that there's a favorite. I mean, I enjoy playing all of them actually. And they were all a lot of fun to record, and there's some different grooves and different things on the record. And sometimes I just dig simple, you know what I mean? And, how about, I've been enjoying the song we're playing called Tracks. Real straight ahead, no frills, no fills, not a lot going on. You could probably give it to your youngest student and he could play it.
Okay.
But I've really enjoyed playing that live. So maybe making another record with Phil. I don't know. I mean, I'd do anything with Phil. He's awesome. He's great. And I loved making the record with Phil. And if we did do another record with Phil, I think it would be a lot different this go around. I don't know that there's a need to do another record with Phil. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know that if it would, you know, I don't know. I think if anything, we might need to keep moving, you know.
Yeah. Try something different.
I think so.
Yeah. So one of the guys that asked that question, he says, tell him his buddy Shane from Texas Modern Day Cowboys has stumped him. Because he was the one that asked you about that.
Well, I think I answered both the questions. I don't think I was stumped.
All right. Off the musical subject, Jeff Strubing.
Yes.
Do you know Jeff?
Never heard of the guy. I do.
It says, what's Troy's favorite sport to watch?
Oh, let me see. I'm going to say golf because I usually just take a nap. I don't watch it. I think it's great background just to chill, put it on TV and chill out and take a nap. I've never been a big sports guy to watch, but if I had to pick one, I know I better go with baseball on this.
All right. Yeah, I'm a big baseball guy, and that's when you can take a nap during that too. You know,
yeah,
depending on the game. But it's great to be outside when the weather's nice. I'm a big Cubs fan, so you know, going up to Wrigley Field and sitting at a Cubs game, you can't really beat that.
Well, Strubing he's with the White Sox, just so you know.
You know, actually, I think I saw him say something on here earlier about that. Said something about the White Sox. Yep, he did. So, all right, Colton, one of our other students, he saw you also when you were in town. Is there a Tesla song that you do not like to play much anymore? Ones that you maybe have burned out of?
Well, you know, it's interesting that we have to play, you know, half dozen plus hits, staples.
Yeah.
And you would think like, man, I'm tired of playing love song, or maybe Susie, you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, if we didn't play that, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. Of course, you know, I love that one, but
I'm just saying,
but that's what people that are
every
the
night.
people that pay to see you play.
Right, but
are-
that's the, yeah. So I wouldn't, that probably wouldn't be a good one to take out because of the fans. And we do want
Yeah.
we cater to the fans.
Yeah.
As far
And
as
it's really one of those things like it's a song you may be tired of playing, but the crowd reaction on it gets
they
you
love
hot.
it, it's a
So,
huge song. We've got a lot of great songs, and I'm really proud of the legacy and the songs and the catalog of what we have and what we're leaving behind, man, for sure. So I don't know if there's anything that I don't like playing. And sometimes it's not that I don't like playing it. It might have to do, we wrote some stuff, and maybe there might be a lyric in a song that I'm like, I really don't want to play that song because of that lyric,
mm.
So, or it might be the content, but I'm not going to say I have one.
All right.
I'm going to bow out.
All right. Has Tesla ever played a Def Leppard song live or vice versa while touring together?
We have played a Def Leppard live song. We used to play a couple of their songs. I think the only time we probably played Rock
Rock of Ages?
Yeah, we did Rock of Ages live. I don't think they've ever done any Tesla live, but we did do, I think, probably like at the end of the tour, last night show kind of thing. Pulled
Yeah.
something off.
Because I've seen stuff where like Phil has played with you guys or.
Yeah, he's got up and he's done Save That Goodness with us, as a matter of fact. Yeah. The song.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this guy, Troy, jumped on stage with some local musicians at a place called Pelican's Retreat in Calabasas in the early 90s. Magical night, and I wonder if Troy remembers it. Just say yes.
Of course I remembered. How could I forget? It was awesome. I had a beautiful time too. Pelican. Yes. I love it. Thank you. I'm glad to hear
great.
it was awesome.
Yeah. So, any more questions? If anybody's got them, we've got a lot of chat stuff going on, but not a lot of questions right now. Oh, you'll like this one, Troy. I saw you in New Orleans at the House of Blues once, and you brought your daughter out and she sat on your lap during signs. Does she or your son have any interest in music?
Well, she, when she was younger, she was singing, a little bit, and I bought her a guitar, but she really hasn't showed any interest. She loves animals and pets and such, and she could become a zoologist. I'm not sure where she's going to go with all of it, but I'm sure she will be in that field because that's her passion, which I love. The fact that she is that passionate about animals and reptiles and such.
Yeah.
Now, my son Troy, I was talking about him earlier. Yes, he plays drums, and now he's producing and he's writing and he's singing and he's doing some really great stuff, man. He's been sending me some stuff that's just like, I'm like, son, yeah, I think this is not even really good. This is really great. I said, you've got some really great stuff happening. Keep it up. Keep writing. Keep doing what you're doing. And he sends me stuff to get feedback on. And
do you ever do any like recording on his tracks?
Well, he just sent me one song because I heard the song he just sent me called Float Away, which is really great song. I said, Troy, I can hear steel drum in this. So he said, Dad, sent me the track. I don't play steel drum. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
So I want to find someone to do it. I actually called Greg Bissonette yesterday. He didn't know this, but I said, Greg, I was just calling to say hey and chat with him about some other stuff anyway. But I thought on the back burner, I'm like, Greg plays steel drum.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll do it,
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, Greg's awesome. I need to hit him up to see if he wants to do one of these things.
Yes, you do.
So because we got a couple more lined up for next week, a couple guys that you know, Dax from Cheap Trick
Love
is
Dax.
doing this. He's doing one on Monday afternoon with us. So if you're following, make sure you like the Rock Academy Facebook page, and you can join on and see what Dax is up to. I've actually known him for almost 20 years or so. He's still in Rockford, which is only a couple hours from here. And my band and his band that he was in with his brother Miles years ago, Harmony Riley, we used to do gigs around the region together.
That is so cool. I got a great story. We were playing Rockford. Tussle was headlining back in the early 90s. Dax was young, very young. And Rick, his father, guitar player for Cheap Trick, everybody probably knows. He came down. He was at the show. And Brian and I, my bass player, Rick invited us to the house. So we went over to his house and we were hanging out. And it was kind of late. And it was getting late. And you know, we had this awesome evening. He was playing us all this new music of Cheap Trick at the time. And then Rick had reached out and he said, "Hey man, can you send my son a shirt or something?" So I put a big old box of stuff together for Dax, you know, and all this stuff and sent it to him. And so that was years ago, probably I don't know how many years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago, we were doing a date together and he was playing drums, and I don't know how long he had been in the band at the time, but he came up to me and he goes, "I just want to tell you thank you for those shirts." I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, but that's how we connected. And then we were just in South America together a couple years ago, and man, I love that band. I love Cheap Trick, and it was with Deep Purple. It was Tesla, Cheap Trick, and Deep Purple. And it was phenomenal. Great tour. And Dax is such a great player. I love his feel. I love what he brings. And it's so nice when you get the you know, things just happen as they should happen. And he's a perfect example of that. Of course, I love Bunny. Bunny was the guy, man. Is the guy, I should say.
Yeah. I actually just got to meet him for the first time.
Is that right?
Right around Christmas. He does this once a month thing at this small club in Rockford called the Bunny Carlos and the Monday Night Band. And it's just some local players and him in this dive bar.
I love it.
And my in-laws live about half hour north of Rockford. And we were up there for Christmas and I'm like, it's a Monday night. This actually works for me that I could go to see this. So they do, it's a 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. You know, with a 15-minute intermission break, and they just play a bunch of like cover tunes. So
what kind of covers they play?
It's all over the place. They're doing stuff from like Wilco. They did some Beatles, some old school blues stuff. Just
Wilco, what a band, man! I caught them. They're out of Chicago, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Holy moly, man! We were in Europe this last year. And they were on a couple bills with us, and I caught them on the second one, and I fell in love with that band. They blew me away. They were great.
Yeah,
great band.
But it was so cool. Like, and I was there by myself at that club, and I ended up right up next to the stage with the perfect view of Bunny playing.
How cool!
And then got to chat with him for a few minutes afterwards, and he actually gave me the drumsticks that he used for the night.
Nice.
Because he's like, "Oh man, you came all the way to see me all the way here, and here's my sticks that I used tonight."
Yeah.
So, and I've always been a huge Cheap Trick fan anyway. And then getting to know Dax and then like actually meet Bunny, that was a huge moment for me. So I was gleaming on my drive back to my in-laws that night.
That's awesome. Have I ever met Bunny? I don't even know if I've ever met him. I don't even think I have.
Wow.
Love him.
Yeah.
Great, you know. But I've been fortunate.
He played on some of my favorite songs of all time. So
absolutely, man. Me too. Huge Cheap Trick fan, man. That Budokan record back in the day, you know, that was it.
Yeah. All right, let's take a couple more questions. We're getting close to an hour and a half here, so I will let you get on your way soon. And your buddy Jeff Stubing says Wilco is from Chicago.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Jeff, for clarifying.
So not a music question. My buddy Steve. Actually, when you were here, my buddy Steve was the one that rode around with us that day. So Steve wants to know, not a music question, but what is your favorite meal to have with your family?
Well, my family is my wife and I.
Yeah.
It's just us here.
You and the dogs.
Um, I thought we were going to go to my go-to. Emil and I, you know, again, you know, we try. There's a place called the Sunflower, which is this vegan organic place here in Nashville, and that might be one of our favorite places to go together. And so, yeah, I think I'll give kudos to the Sunflower, which is in what do they call that area? All the recording studios are there. Berry Hill. It's in Berry Hill, Nashville, Tennessee. The Sunflower, and yeah, there's a lot. We do like a lot of quinoa, and we do sprouts and some vegan dishes. In regards to, you know, black bean, and I actually have a which would be considered a black bean burger, which is phenomenal. I don't know if you've ever tried one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize how much I've enjoyed, you know, eating that great healthy food.
Yeah. All right. So this one, what is your drumstick of choice?
Well, Promark is who I've been with for 30 years, so I would have to say Promark. And it's funny, on this practice pad thing, I've got.
He'll be right back, folks.
I am right here. I am right here. So, practice pad. These are Rich Redmond drumsticks.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got like this grip on them. But it's really nice because they just kind of have this. I wrap my sticks.
Yeah.
The Tesla. So mine are like 16 3/4. These are probably just a little bit shorter. But working out on the pad, I've enjoyed these a lot. So Rich, very cool. And it's the classic 5B. So it's called Actigrip. You heard of it? Very cool.
Yeah, I have a student of mine that actually has been bringing those ones in.
But
I'm kind of, I don't know if you ever, it's a small company out of Chicago called Cooper Grooves.
Uh-huh.
And actually, let me reach over here. And so I've been using these a lot lately. And so it's got these grooves cut into the stick.
Is it a wrap too?
It's a dip.
A dip. Yeah, that's probably very cool, I'm sure.
So with the grooves in it, it actually cuts out the vibrations to your hand, so it doesn't have so much hand fatigue. And it gives you like a good spot, you know, like to keep your, there's the camera. Like keep your thumb at right there. It's
I play.
And then like as this yeah.
As far as sticking.
So as you your hands sweat, this gets tackier.
That's what these do.
Yeah. I love them. So I actually got a little artist endorsement through those guys right now. And so yeah, Cooper Grooves, you can check those out too. So but yeah, Promark, if I would have had my choice forever, Promark would have been my go-to stick if I could ever have an endorsement.
You know, all my companies that I have been with, Zildjian, Tama, Evans. Evans has been, you know, probably the least amount of years. But I mean, because Tama, Zildjian, Promark, I've been with all these companies over 30 years.
Yeah, we actually had somebody, Dustin Little, wrote in, anything to share on your long partnership with Tama?
Yeah, lots to share. You know, it's 1986. That's when I signed with them. In 87, they dropped off my first kid on the David Lee Roth tour. And they have been so gracious over the years. They've stuck by me. I took 4 years off when I decided to stay home and watch my son go through high school when Tesla broke up in 96. And then we got back together October 2000 and picked everything up just like it was yesterday. Everybody's always stuck with me over the years. But, you know, it's amazing to watch what they've done, to see what they've done over the last 30 something years. I mean, they're a phenomenal, phenomenal company. They make amazing drums. And the quality and the hardware, the whole package, you know. So it started with a guy named Joe Hibbs back in the day, the late Joe Hibbs, who's now.
Yeah, he just passed away a couple years ago. Yeah.
Very, very sad. Lost Joe. And I think he had approached, I was with Gretsch early on, and I never used my Gretsch deal with Dinah Gretsch. And because our management company, they had, they had Leppard. So Rick had a deal with them for whatever that was. But you had Dokken, Queensryche, all Tama, Metallica, Tesla. So everything was Tama. You know, that's where it came from. They had approached me. And so I went ahead and took the deal because I never used my Gretsch deal. I couldn't afford, even though I had a deal that cost at the time. I was so young, I didn't have any money. Yeah. I never called and said, hey, send me some drums, and, you know, got my endorsement deal. So it was okay to leave, and I never really had a relationship. They didn't know who I was. You know, I had one record out with the Eric Martin band at the time, and I was young, in my early 20s. But yeah, they've been a phenomenal company, man. Can't say enough great things about them, and they make amazing drums.
Good deal. Well, yeah, we got through most questions that were asked. We're at about an hour and a half, so I can let you get back to your day. Have
awesome.
Binge watching Netflix or whatever you're gonna do.
We'll go out and pick up the dog crap out in the yard. How's that?
There you go. Man, can we just like FaceTime live that one too?
I think there was a picture the other day somebody posted of me too. You know, years ago we had a picture of me like with a shovel, and I'm like, yeah. And he posted, he goes, yeah, Troy's gonna really not be happy about this post. And I said, no, I said, man, I got to keep in shape. I was doing my paradiddle.
That's great.
Anyway, so you gotta have a sense of humor in this stuff, man, and you got to enjoy it and have fun, make light of it. You know, I take it very serious what I do, certainly, and I want to be there for my band and show up for my guys and work hard and not take it for granted, and you know, stay in shape so I can continue to do it for many more years to come.
Yeah, I hope you guys get to tour somewhere around here again. I want to definitely come out and hang again. So
I'm sure we will, and I'm sure we'll do it again. And I'm sure
once this all passes here,
and I'll come see the kids again. How's that?
Absolutely. I know they'd love to see you. So, yeah. So everybody watching, thank you for hanging out with us. You'll see below, follow us on the Rock Academy, Facebook and Twitter and, Instagram and whatnot. And then tune in again on Monday at 2:00 Central, where we'll be talking with Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick. And then, next Thursday, we'll be talking with Matt Starr, who's playing with Ace Frehley and Mr. Big these days.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt wanted to make sure I told you hi for him, Troy.
And you make sure, well, he's going to get it right for me. Matt, it's going to be awesome. I'll be watching, man. Kill it, bro.
Awesome. So yeah, and we're working on a few other ones too. So I need to get some guitar players on here. I think all these drummers, you know, yeah. I have a great connection with talking with drummers. We're kind of cut from the same cloth, man.
I know a couple that I can hook you up with. How's that?
So, well, one of the next guys is our buddy Sean Fuller.
Love Sean.
I got to get him on this thing. So
I'm sure he'll be happy. And I mean, congratulations, man, and keep doing what you're doing. And this is really wonderful. I mean, it's right now, I think it's just the new way we're all going to communicate for a while.
Yeah. So this is the best way to do it. And no, we don't have to go anywhere. We can just do it from the comfort of our own basement or wherever we're at.
That's it. It works for me, man. I'm here if you need me.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Troy. It was great to see you again. And we'll stay in touch.
You got it, man. Talk to you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Peace, everybody. Thank you for watching.
All right. Bye-bye.